Here we are, top right hand corner is where the blue Terran for Kaisi Gaming is currently spawning. The machine is Innovation. Here in the bottom left hand corner instead, playing for Team Gunpack GP, it is the red Terran, RYUNG. Yes, Sushi said in the chat, RYUNG actually has a very good TVT. He's more of a defensive player, very clean on his execution, doesn't really get too altered by the game state, really brings his game plan and follows it until the end, trying to pull up more of a defensive style. Let's see if he tries to do that as well against Innovation, which is one of those players who can actually do everything. He can play a long macro game, bring it to a point in which even a single slight mistake can end the game, and be calm and collected in the scenario, or can go all out with a lot of aggression in the earlier stages of the game and actually be very proactive on the map, gaining map control and getting a lot of damage if he wants to. Both players going for that SCV scouting right now. We see Reaper first for Innovation. RYUNG a little bit later on his first Rex. Gonna start off with a Reaper of his own. You don't want to be behind in Reaper and Hellion Scout in this matchup in the early stages of the game. So you might as well react with the same exact game plan as your opponent. As all mirror matchups go, they can be very widely shifting. The results can be so different if even a slight minor thing is changed between the two build orders of the two players. So every single mirror matchup just is waiting for that moment to come. Up until to that point is more about execution, and just by how quick, Innovation has been going with his standard build, it already says a lot of how clean the execution of the blue Terran can be. Really on top of everything just when he needs it, and just going to be slightly ahead on all the departments. RYUNG is going to reactor his factory to double it up with the Hellion production. This is not something that usually happens, it's mostly for Reapers, while Innovation instead already getting a tech lab and a starport. This is getting already a little bit interesting, with the two players getting a very different start on their 1-1-1 opener. We see a tank actually started by Innovation, probably wanting to play a more of a laid-back TVT and getting steam a little bit quicker than his opponent. All these kind of pieces that bring to the mid-game army that is so often considered to be the best in this matchup, which is of course Steam Marines, tanks and Vikings, without a lot of medivacs, just a good enough amount to maybe try and drop on top of the tanks of your opponent. Both players getting a cyclone for defense, but of course is RYUNG the one being the proactive player this far, getting 4 Hellions right now on the map and readying a drop into the main base of Innovation. Both medivacs are just gonna pass by each other, with the Raven started off by RYUNG for defense. The cyclone is almost done, but there is not much going on really in the base of the red Terran. This is a very aggressive build from RYUNG, already getting a lot of SCV kills, going to rank up to 7 and counting. Meanwhile, Innovation drops a tank into the main of RYUNG. Raven not out yet, focusing down the tech lab. 13 SCVs have been falling for Innovation. Scrappy beginning of the game for both players. 2 add-on killed by Innovation and 13 SCVs killed instead by RYUNG. The Cyclone is out, so is the Raven. It's all up to Micro right now, and supply depot goes down, bringing RYUNG to a heavy supply block. This starport is in real danger. SCV is sent to the repair, but now a tank is out for RYUNG as well. and the Cyclone is trying to focus down all the key pieces of the army of Innovation. Raven waiting to have enough energy to drop down another turret, does it on top of the tank goes down. And I'd say that RYUNG has got the better of this engagement. He needs to replace the 2 lost add-ons. But he didn't lose many SCVs, he just lost 6 against the 13 of Innovation. Innovation doubles it down and takes down the Raven out of RYUNG. So does RYUNG though, taking out that Raven. Now it's a bunch of Marines against 1 tank and a Cyclone. Well, the Cyclone is for Innovation. It looks like Innovation is going all out on top of RYUNG. Such a messy game. The tank dropping down shells on top of RYUNG's tank. The tank goes down, 13 SCVs go down, and it looks like there is no more defense for RYUNG. Losing those add-ons was probably a little bit too much. Another add-on is in danger. Another tank pops out, sieging up in the main base of RYUNG. But the damage is already being dealt. And now another Raven has made its way through the map. There is a Raven incoming from RYUNG, but this command center in the nature of RYUNG is already doomed. Here goes another Roboto command. No add-ons for RYUNG, and Innovation takes game number 1 of this best of 2 series. Here in the bottom right hand corner of Submarine is where the blue Terran from Kazi Gaming is currently spawning. It is Innovation. And in the opposite corner, here in the top left, playing for Team GP, it is RYUNG. Submarine, and both players are Terran. You say tank wars. Let's see if it comes to that, because these 2 players can easily end this game before Tank Marine Vikings wars can begin. Alright. Doesn't really look like anything is too crazy going on, aside from the map, which is kind of crazy. So, no proxies, no shenanigans ongoing this far. It's just going to be a Reaper expand for both these players without anything too aggressive coming from the get-go. And of course, Innovation going for SCV Scout, which could possibly mean there is going to be some kind of proxies from Innovation. Don't think this is the case. I think this is just to straight up gain some information with this SCV. Confirm it is a Reaper first, maybe. Just taking a small sacrifice to be as careful as possible. Seeing the factory being dropped. Dropping a factory of his own. Nothing is really too crazy right now. Alright. Command center started by RYUNG on the low ground. Same reaction by Innovation. Both players not really moving out with their Reapers. Keeping it close for defense. With RYUNG starting off his first alien, while Innovation prefers to add his tech lab and reactor as quick as possible. While RYUNG doesn't really go for anything too proactive, Innovation can certainly afford that, and getting some map control with these 2 Reapers. And into the middle of the map, getting a Cyclone back home for defense. Everything is definitely going slower compared to the first game of this series. One of the Reapers gets actually killed by RYUNG, and Innovation will find himself being behind in the early units department, but of course with the Cyclone for defense, not much to threaten him out there from RYUNG, especially with these 2 Marines coming out. The Reaper actually will get a cancel, well, not a cancel, a delay on this command center by quite a while. The Cyclone is in real danger, but gets a lock on top of the Reapers, stopping them from getting anything too aggressive. These Reapers still going ham in the natural law of RYUNG, this command center will finally finish and save 2 more SCPs before they can be slain by the Reaper. But certainly Innovation gains so much scouting, so much map control, and so much delay on the game plan of RYUNG getting a third SCV. Oh, that Widowmine is going to get a very good shot. That's a trade you take any day of your life. Widowmine for Cyclone. It's a very good trade for RYUNG. One he badly needed to get a foothold into this game. Back again, third command center. There is an interesting decision from RYUNG. While Innovation is setting up his core army. Raven gonna finish much quicker for Innovation due to his quicker build opener overall, without a third command center as well. And he's going to have certainly more tanks and marines in these first few stages of the game. It looks like Innovation kind of wants to move out. It doesn't really feel safe enough for it, maybe. But it definitely has the possibility to go for something very aggressive. Micro is so important in these early skirmishes between 2 Terran players. And you see the army being slightly divergent. Second Raven incoming from both players. But there are 2 Cyclones out for RYUNG for defense, while Innovation has dived a little bit more deeper into the Marine department. Finally, a third command center gets dropped for Innovation as well. But RYUNG already has his own completed, swapping Rex and Starport to start off Steam. Innovation trying to rush that mid-game tech, and of course it's going to be much needed to match the economical prowess that RYUNG is certain to have with that much of a quicker third command center, third orbital command. RYUNG trying to get some map control, trying to get some units in the middle of the map, trying to maybe intercept a couple Ravens, get a lock on. But Innovation is planning around that, moving around the edges of submarine. One tank spots what is going on from RYUNG, doesn't get any kills, gets killed for free by the Cyclones. But RYUNG definitely needs to get a move out from that position because Innovation is on the chase. The command center just finishes for the blue Terran. And right now another lock-in gets on top of one of the Raven, but the Cyclone gets killed. There are 3 tanks ready to be sieged in a very good position, but there are only 2 for Innovation. 2 Ravens to 2. This is definitely going to be a difficult fight for both players. But the Marines can be clutch when it comes to these tanks sieged up by Innovation, scared of move out by RYUNG. Gets the Reaper. With a scan forward, RYUNG is able to siege his own tanks a little bit quicker than his opponent, and I think he has a Viking advantage. Of course, defender's advantage kicking in and granting RYUNG a very safe defensive position with 4 tanks and a bunch of Vikings. Raven control is clutch in this scenario. It is tank wars size. It is definitely tank wars. And these 2 Cyclones not spending the lock on each other. It looks like RYUNG spent his own and won the Cyclone battle. But in the end, it's about the tanks. And it looks like RYUNG got a quick chip shot on top of the tanks of Innovation. The blue Terran decides to retreat from the time being, acknowledging that it does not have yet the Viking count it wishes to have. The Marines still clutch. The Vikings getting on the Raven of RYUNG. Huge misplay from the red Terran. And now there is a Raven advantage for the blue one. 2 Ravens almost at full energy. But Innovation doesn't yet find a way to break through. RYUNG could still commit on top of the Ravens. Vikings amount not high enough for Innovation yet. Very good spread from RYUNG, avoiding the tanks of Innovation to get any kind of heavy splash damage on all of his tanks. Vikings, first volley is from Innovation, and here comes The interference matrix here comes in clutch. The Raven advantage, meaning these tanks can be leapfrogged by Innovation. There is a missile turret incoming for RYUNG, meaning that Innovation needs to find another way to strike. Submarine can be as crazy as that. Both players not really finding a way through, while Innovation really doesn't double it down on the only advantage he had in the early game, which was Marines. Now that he has the Raven advantage, it's going to be much harder for RYUNG to find a good engagement. Missile turrets are going to be spread out between the natural and the third to stop the Vikings from Innovation from committing into the Raven and the Vikings of RYUNG. Innovation still doesn't manage to find the right way to punish RYUNG. He finally finds one, getting one tank and a missile turret for free, but here comes two Liberators. There's no defense back home for Innovation. He's still waiting for a bunch of Marines to be done. Aliens here on the fourth phase of Innovation. Finally, Liberators gets cleared, but 7 SCVs have been killed by RYUNG. Manages to strike past the army of Innovation, finds a way to not be scouted, and get some very important small victories. Innovation trying to leapfrog his tank, and he will get another free volley. 9 SCVs have been killed by Innovation, but RYUNG struggling to keep up with the production of Innovation, not missing any single cycle, and managing still to defend the fourth base that he was trying to build, sending out the SCV to starting to build it up even more. And there are so many Marines ready to steam forward. 3 volleys from RYUNG will mean 2 tanks will fall for Innovation, but still, it's a heavy advantage. 16, 17 and counting SCVs dying for Innovation to the Liberator of RYUNG, being heavily behind in workers, and now the doors are out. This siege by Innovation is looking more difficult by the second. Vikings getting a volley on top of the Raven. Beautiful anti-armor missile. But in the end, Innovation will still win the air battle by a slight margin, but still enough to leapfrog his units forward towards not fighting with the main army. And now Marines steaming on the right side. Tanks spreading left and right for Innovation, even late sieging. It is affordable with these many Marines, and look at the SCV amount that can go down in just a single volley for Innovation. RYUNG so behind in this, pulling the boys on top of the tanks, but the Viking advantage kicking in. No tours for this. Look at the Marines go now. Innovation doubling the supply of his opponent, and this is certainly an almost impossible position to be in for RYUNG, saving the orbital command but losing 41 SCVs. That's GG, guys, and Innovation makes it a clean sweep.